Be exactly what you want to be without all of the fear around you. We have to stand up together.
Welcome everybody to another episode of The Chairman Project with Jason Sisneros. This week we are going to be talking about the subject, and you know, one of the things about putting these titles over on Twitter is that I can't get the whole thing in there. And the title on Twitter is called Lucky Charm or Secret Weapon. And I need to add one word in there so that we understand kind of what we're talking about this week, which is there's a word in before that called ignore. Ignore, comma, or question mark maybe. Lucky Charm, question mark. Secret Weapon, question mark. Which one do you want to be for your clients? And this is coming from a couple of things. This is coming from a couple of arenas this week that I had, you know, a lot of times what'll happen with some of our clients or an interaction that I had with another business owner, those things inspire what we talk about every Saturday here on X at the J Sisneros, on X, the Chairman Project podcast, which is only going to be that for a few more weeks. We're going to be rebranding everything under the Built to Exit brand. And those of you that have not done it yet, please go put your email address in at builttoexit.biz, and you'll get my show notes from every time I do these shows and any updates where I might be. I am broadcasting live today from Cancun, Mexico. I'm literally going to step out of this podcast and I'm going to go step on a stage. And we've got about 100 or so business owners down here that flew down to Cancun to be educated on how to exit their own businesses. So those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome. Those of you that are here, we have an amazing group of people that show up live on Twitter. You can be one of them. Come and join us. But to those, all of you that are new, this podcast and this conversation is always centered around your business and keeping yourself economically free through this tool, this wonderful opportunity for us to be able to compete in the free marketplace with our product and our service. And as I went through this week, we're going to talk a little bit about being your, you know, whether you're being ignored or whether you're a lucky charm or whether you're a secret weapon. You know, that sort of subject, that's going to be the focus of it. But I always like to start because there's a lot of new people that are starting to watch the show. There's a lot of people that you guys are sending this show out because it helps you promote or the way that you think and the way that you're doing business in an ethical way. I had 2 phone calls this week from people that had watched the podcast and love the concept. It's really resonating with people, this idea of ethical capitalism and competing in a world that seems to be okay with greed and getting mine and those kind of things. And at the end of the day, the only sustainable thing that we can do is to do business ethically, because that's the only way that this keeps rolling forward. If we buy into it, the small and medium-sized companies, there's 33 million of us. We do 60% of the GDP, which our GDP is somewhere between 25 and 27 trillion dollars. That means that we're responsible for 16, 17, 18 trillion dollars. That makes us the biggest organization, the biggest organism on the face of the planet. And we should have a say in the way that business is done, right? You can't tilt it towards multinationals. You can't tilt it towards corrupt, career politicians that are helping put their thumb on the scale for businesses so that their stock can go up, right? All you got to do is just watch Nancy Pelosi's stock. And it's not just her. This is not a political statement or me choosing a side on this. They're all corrupt right now. There's a lot of people that you can track their stock trades and understand that they make a vote and then they either dump stock or buy stock. That's not sustainable, y'all, not for our country. And so we all, I say this every single time we do this podcast, that you doing business it's an act of rebellion against being controlled. It's an act of rebellion against being an indentured servant or a slave to a company that you don't want to work for or a government that you didn't vote for or that you don't support. So that's what we do here. And as I was thinking about this, and we get into this subject, I had a couple of scenarios that happened this week. I was going to title this show, I Told You So, because there's times in life that you really want to be able to say it, and there's times that you want to be able to hear it. So we've had several of our interactions this week with a couple of our bigger clients, and why I want to bring this up before we get into the main subject line is because I want you to understand the things that we talk about here. Again, they're hard work. We talk about implementing strategies. We talk about the core four. We talk about falling in love with our clients' outcomes. We talk about falling in love with our employees' outcomes. We talk about getting better at our product. We get better at our service. We talk about a lot of things that are difficult to do, right? They're difficult to do. And the challenge is, I think for everybody, is that as you start to do something new, as you start to learn a new skill set, you know that your bank account, your business, your level of joy, your level of physical vitality, your relationships that you have right now are based on your best thinking and the patterns and repetitive behaviors of the last year, the last 2 years, the last 5 years. And so inherently, in an intellectual sport, you know that the smart thing for you to do is to realize that if you want something different, you're going to have to do some things differently. Now, if you're at that inflection point and you say to yourself, okay, I need to do something differently, now what do? You seek it out. You seek out new information. You seek out people and things that will help you change your behavior ultimately. Right? They change your behavior. You get a piece of information, you modify your behavior, that creates a different result, and you go, that was good information or that was bad information. There is no such thing as bad information in business, because each and every time you try something, you know you can put something away that says that doesn't work, right? Or if it does work, you do more of it. And so in this world, in this realm, you know that if you're at that intelligent inflection point, you say, what I need to gather some information that I don't know so that I can modify my behavior for things I'm not doing because of the things that I'm not getting, the things that I'm not receiving, the freedom from my business, the amount of money that I'm trying to make, those type of things. And so it's at that inflection point where you have to make decisions. Where am I going to get my information from? And so if you are a rookie, right? You look on the internet, or you're flooded with on Instagram, or whatever social media that you're consuming out there. You're going to start seeing ads. You're going to start seeing gurus. You're going to start seeing, there's 7 steps to being a multimillionaire in 14 days. Buy a company, flip it. When you've never ever owned a business in your entire life. Some of the stupidest things. Now they get people because those people are great at marketing. Right? Nothing against them. Look, at the end of the day, I did that. I fell for a lot of that stuff. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on getting information from people who weren't the source, right? They didn't have a system. They had a book, or they had something that they had copied from somebody else that sounded good because they figured out the marketing algorithm, right? I'm not talking about marketing algorithms here. I'm talking about being great at what it is that you do. There's so much talk about, do I do it on Instagram? Do I do it on LinkedIn? Do I do it on all these other kind of things? And at the end of the day, I think to myself, 90% of the people that are worried about selling something, their product and or service sucks, right? It's not delivering on the promise that you made in your marketing, that you're trying to reach out and put your information out there and do all of these tricky things that everybody in the marketing world is trying to do. The greatest marketing for you is for your product and or service to change the life. Remember, a business only exists for 3 reasons. You help people make money, you help people save money, or you measurably improve the quality of their life. And if you do that, you're constantly obsessed with making that product better and better and better. You're constantly looking to improve and take that game to the next level, right? So at the end of the day, we have to focus in on one thing. You know, if somebody asked me the other day, Jason, what is it that you actually do? Okay, what is it that you actually do? I help develop people into the 5%. Right, 95% of companies fail. What does Jason Sisneros do? I help people that are in the 95% get to the 5%. I train 5%ers. That's what I do. That's my job all day long, every single day. Okay. Now, what does it take to be in the 5%? You have to be operating your business on a system. You have to understand how business works. Those 5% don't stay in business by accident. It's not an accident. There is a formula. We're all playing the same game. I don't care what it is that you do. I don't care what it is that you sell. I don't care what your product or service is. We already did a whole entire episode on the fact that you're not a special flower, which means that at the end of the day, your product and or service, it should be great. It should be solving people's problems. The greatest marketing is for you to do a great job for somebody, your product and or service to do a great job for somebody, and then they tell somebody else. And you ask them to ask somebody else. You say, look, how did I do? Right? Scale of 1 to 10. We've gone through this several times. There's a specific training in the growth course, growthcourse.com, for those of you that are looking to get a great system for you to be able to operate your business on. I have a lot of people that show up. In fact, most of the people that show up, surprise, surprise, every Saturday are graduates or students in the growth course right now, because they know they have a system. They have something that they can count on. They have something that takes them A through Z. It's not bullshit. It's not something that I read in a book somewhere. It's something with lived experience, right? With the multitude of companies that I turned around, and then the ones that I bought and turned around, and then the ones that I sold back in 2019, right? That's the path, right? You want to play this game with a system that unfairly, let's say this, unfairly advantages you to play in a marketplace that is playing an unsustainable game right now, right? What's going on, what we see happening right now, all the things that we look around us and go, that's not right, it's unsustainable. We will either fall into communism or we will get back on track with ethical capitalism, period, end of sentence. Those are the only two outcomes for the game and the trajectory that we happen to find ourselves on right now. Okay, so if you want to be part of the 5%, then you have to know those rules, and that should be your outcome, because ultimately you're not going to be able to exit, right? The whole rebranding that we're doing around Built to Exit was an epiphany that I didn't even have it myself. I had somebody that was helping me think through things. I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way to explain what it is that we do, you know, and that's where we landed on. I help people become part of the 5%. And how we do that is we build what it is that you have so that you can exit. That is the reason why you're building a company. Now, there's people that are building a company because it's providing for their family. Right now, I understand all of the levels. If there was a spectrum on where you are on building your company to exit, I know that there's that first exciting day when you don't care about anything that I'm saying right now. That you're like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. I don't have to go to work for somebody else. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. And guess what? I made more money in my first month of sales than I did at 3 months at my last job, right? There's spectrums. And then there's when you get into it and you're like, I'm doing pretty good, right? We're paying our bills. I'm paying down some debt. I'm doing that kind of stuff. And then there's the people that have been doing it for a while and they're like, okay, cool. I got to start thinking about the end of my career. I got to start thinking about maybe what's next because I'm bored with what I'm doing. And at every single time, I just wish that people could understand that they get to that inflection point of I have to have a system to be able to operate my business on that is the system that all 5% companies operate on. And then customize that to what it is that I do, where I live, my age, my preferences, when I need to exit, how much money I need to have to be able to retire, all those things. You customize it to you. The system doesn't change. The outcomes are infinite because there's 8 billion people on this earth that all of them have different desires. Okay, so as we started, as I was thinking about putting this show together, there's a couple of things. The I told you so. We were sitting in a meeting, and I want you to write down this term. I want you to write down this term because it's something that we came up with a few years ago, and it's called the trough of disappointment. Okay, it's called the trough of disappointment. Whenever you are executing on a model, you're doing what I said. Like I said, you could look in your bank account, your relationship, all those types of, and you can figure out where it is that you are, and that's based on your best thinking and the patterns and repetitive behaviors and decisions that you've made over the years. Okay, so when you finally find a system that will actually impact and get you the things that you want to get, right? And you know that by the fact that that person has them, that system has created it for a multitude of people, that type of thing. And you sit down and you go, okay, now here's where I'm going to pour my energy and my effort into because I know it's not bullshit. And you start doing that. You start doing things a little bit differently. You get up at a different time of day. You make a different decision about hiring employees. You have to get rid of a couple of employees. You have to get an employee for the first time, right? And then you start working down this new path, and there's this delay, right? There's this lead and lag. If you want to research that after the show, lead and lag. The lead measure is predictive or should be predictive of the lagging indicator, the outcome that it is that you're trying to produce, okay? And so you start working on those lead measures, and things may make a few less sales, right? You might lose another employee that you didn't expect to because you got rid of the one that you needed to, right? You might bring on somebody that's taking a little bit longer to train them, right? These things, this leads to what's called, it's a predictable place called the trough of disappointment. And when at Anton J, when we're working with a full-blown company with a multitude of clients, and they may have different locations and all that kind of stuff, this is one of the first things that we talk about is this trough of disappointment. Because you're going to get in, it's going to seem like you're working harder because you're doing some new things and while trying to maintain your old outcomes, right? We teach about how to do this in the growth course, by the way. But this trough of disappointment is where most people get into it and they're like, oh crap, I've been doing some new things and it's actually making things worse. It's predictable. It is predictable that things are going to get a little bit worse. As you are training yourself on a new concept, as you are training yourself on a new concept, as you're training yourself on new behaviors, new beliefs, right? And getting your team to buy in and to do these new things as well, right? And it's there when you hit that trough of disappointment that most of the time people quit. They stop doing the new stuff that they know, that they have done all the research, they've done their due diligence, they've taken the right steps, they've said, okay, this system has worked for a multitude of other people, it worked for the person who's teaching it, the system that I got, and at the end of the day, it got a little bit worse. This is predictable. And if you quit here and go back to your old outcomes, go back to your old behaviors, guess what you're going to get? Those old results. Hi, my name is Jason Sisneros, founder and chairman of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has helped hundreds of clients and thousands of growth course students fix, scale, and successfully master their businesses. To put it simply, my team and I help people turn their businesses into machines that create cash. To better support startups and other mid-sized companies, my team and I developed a phenomenal and comprehensive digital growth course where I poured decades of business ownership and know-how into 20 hours of content. This course is not easy. It's not an easy pill, but it demands real work from you to implement the blueprints that I've developed. We know that reaching financial freedom is never easy, but totally worth it. Go to growthcourse.com right now to learn more about the course and get started on your business journey today. This is where the 5% push through. And not only do they push through this trough of disappointment, they're looking for the next one. Because they know that when they master that step, when they get through that trough of disappointment, that they're going to go up, right? There's going to be a predictable upswing in revenue, people having a better time, your finances are going to get a little bit better, you're going to understand a little bit more, but then you've got to modify again. You've got to constantly improve these assets in your organization. And as you do that, there's a predictable trough of disappointment. You do trough of disappointment, you come up, you shoot up, and then you have another trough of disappointment. You start to seek that out, and the faster that you can get to those, the faster your business is going to grow. For what outcome? Again, for what outcome? For you to exit. If you're not playing this game to exit your business, and here's all I mean by that. There's 3 types of exit. One is going from obligated to optional. That's exit number 1. You don't have to be there. Number 2 is total time control, where you can then, you've got it running, you've got people running it, you've got the assets built, and an asset is people, technology, systems, and measurement that create a predictable outcome without the influence of the owner. Okay, that's what an asset is. You link enough of those together, and then eventually you've got a system. You've built a machine that creates cash that you no longer necessary in. That's the second kind of exit, total time control. You can go start another business, you can start a charity, or you can go sail the 7 seas with your loved one. Okay, the third type of exit is selling the business, harvesting your wealth. Sell it. Take that money, go do whatever it is that you want to do with it. That's how you have to build your business, okay? So if you're doing that, if that's the exit that you're headed on, then you want to get through as many of these trough of disappointments as possible. And that does not include you being massively public all the time. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with social media. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you putting your face out there. That's great, but you're throwing your bait out into the middle of an ocean that may not have any fish in it, or it might be the wrong bait for the fish where you're at. The best thing that you can do is what I'm going to teach about today, and I'm going to get into it, and that is to be the best at what you do. Now, what you do, again, cannot be something that you've fallen in love with. Okay? It cannot be something that you've fallen in love with. It has to be that you went out and sought in the marketplace something where people are consuming something that it is that you do, whether that's coaching or whether that's insurance or whether that's building houses or whether that's putting in HVAC, whatever it is. And then what you do is you figure out the people that are consuming that, how can you fall in love with their outcome? If you are in love with your product and or service, and you haven't done any market research, or you haven't, asked the people that you're doing your work for how well you're doing, then you are doing this the wrong way. Your fundamental, that inflection point that I talked about earlier, that inflection point is off target. You are headed in the wrong direction. You must fall in love with the outcome of your client. Okay? And when you do that, now you can properly focus all of your time and attention on constantly improving the product, constantly improving the strategy, constantly improving your service. So let me get back up here and talk about so let's get into. I've got 5 subjects that I want to talk about, that I want to jump into around this. Okay, number 1. I just briefly went over it, which is outcome obsession. Understanding and obsessively improving the outcomes important to your customers is the secret weapon that turns casual interactions into compelling needs. This is about more than meeting expectations. It's about exceeding them in ways that resonate deeply with your target audience. Now, let's go back to the title of this particular show. Okay? Ignore, you have a lucky charm or a secret weapon. Think about all the phone calls that you've had. Think about all of the times that you've attempted to sell your product and or service. If people don't call you back, why not? It's because they have no compelling reason to. Right? The other one, and that means that they're going to ignore you because there's 50 million other marketing, advertising, and crap coming at them every single day. You haven't figured out if you haven't identified their pain enough, and your reputation and your product and their service, it hasn't risen to the level where somebody goes, oh shit, if I'm doing that thing, right? If I'm getting a HVAC put in my house, I know I need to go to that place because bar none, they're the best that's out there because they're addressing in their marketing, they're addressing with their referrals the things that I care about. The pricing, the showing up on time, the cleaning after they leave, the fact that I got a warranty on my product, blah, 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 blah. Whatever those things are, if you're obsessed with creating the best outcome for your client, then they're not going to be able to ignore you. Right? There's a saying that I don't know where I got it from. It's not from me, but I read it somewhere, to not just be not just to be the best, but to be the only. That's where your time and energy should be obsessing with. You shouldn't be obsessing. Look, again, social media is a part of the game these days. I understand that. But if you're not obsessed with the outcome and producing the best outcome for your client and or customer, then it's a waste of time. You're peeing into the wind, as some people would say, okay? So you got to get in there and figure out what it is, what is that outcome, and fall in love with it. Now that gives you an efficiency of time. Point number 2, that gives you an efficiency of time because you're spending your time not going, oh, I wonder if I should go out under this tree and is the wind blowing into the microphone as I do some stupid ass TikTok thing that nobody's ever going to watch. Is the sun shining? Am I wearing the right outfit? Am I doing the dance right? Blah, 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 blah. No, it gives you an efficiency of time because where you may be wasting your time on doing ineffective and unnecessary behaviors, you will be focusing in on falling in love with the outcome of your client. If you don't have a consistent source of referrals coming in, you must get better at what it is that you do. Okay, that gives you an efficiency of time for you to go, cool, now I'm gonna constantly obsess over my customer's outcome. I'm gonna constantly obsess over making sure that my teammates, my employees are having that they're getting to their outcomes, and eventually that'll lead to the right things, right? That leads to the third piece, which is the domino effect, which is I want to hit this domino that is going to knock over the most dominoes possible with the least amount of effort. Right? You hit that first one and it just effortlessly drives down the rest of the dominoes because you have focused on the right thing towards the right outcome. And when you hit that first domino, what does it lead to? Leads it to a beautiful pattern, right? Which is the outcome that your customer ends up giving you a referral, that your customer ends up doing more business with you, that your customer is raving about you and you're not having to rave about yourself and you're not having to spend all this time doing ineffective activities, okay? That's the domino effect. Number 4 is that your perspective is focused on your exit. You know that if I get enough of those referrals stacked up, that I'm going to be able to have a house that's paid off. I'm going to have a car that's paid off. I'm going to have $1 million in the bank that's spinning off 10%. I'm going to have enough money in the bank that I can travel and do the things that I want to do. I'm going to have enough money so that I can pass that on to my wife or to my husband or to my kids or whatever it is, because you're building to exit. All of these things are the proper sequencing of the proper behaviors for you to be able to get the outcome that you seek, right? And then the third piece, the fifth one is the triad of business impact. Every successful business fundamentally does one of 3 things: save money, make money, or improve quality of life measurably. And focusing on those 3 pillars can dramatically enhance your quality control and your business growth, okay? So let me give you a couple examples out of history that I love. I love to go to history and then I bring it back into the business area. And let me give you an idea, okay? There's 2 examples. And those of you know, I kind of dig history. So I was reading through some different things, and there's a guy, his name was King Sejong the Great. King Sejong the Great of Korea. He was the 4th ruler of the Joseon dynasty in Korea. He's revered for his profound and lasting impact on the welfare and the culture of his people. He reigned from 1418 to 1450. And King Sejong was deeply committed to improving the lives of his subjects. His most notable achievement was the creation of Hangul, the Korean alphabet, in 1443. Before Hangul, the Korean language used complex Chinese characters that were difficult for the common people to learn. King Sejong's creation of an accessible and straightforward alphabet democratized learning and literacy, which was previously a privilege of the aristocracy. King Sejong's obsession with the outcomes of his subjects didn't stop at Hangul. His reign was marked by significant advancements in science, technology, agriculture, including the development of rain gauges, water clocks, improved farming techniques, all aimed at enhancing the quality of life for his people. His leadership exemplified how a focus on practical and cultural outcomes can transform a society. Okay? That is an example of someone who fell in love with the outcome of his people. Okay, of his clients. His clients were the people in his country. Now, flip that on its head, there was Emperor Caligula. I think there was actually a movie that was made about this guy, but he ruled Rome from 37 AD to 41. And he's often cited as an example of leadership that disastrously neglected the outcomes of his followers. Known for his cruelty, extravagance, and apparent madness, his short reign was marked by a series of severe financial crises and acts that many of his contemporaries saw as tyrannical and self-serving. All of you have probably seen a business owner. Maybe you've been a business owner. Maybe you've worked for a business owner that was exactly like that. Cruel, extravagant. They appeared like they were crazy, and they aren't in business for very long, or you didn't work for them for very long. Right? This is the big difference between the two different types of leadership. Caligula's actions as a leader included squandering Rome's treasury. I'm going to say that again. Squandering Rome's treasury. Maybe or maybe that we may not see some of that stuff in our own government and the things that are going on, but we've certainly seen it in businesses. Right? That you see somebody all of a sudden, they're starting to raise capital and they're spending it on lavish shit instead of actually falling in love and improving the quality of the assets and getting to the employees' WIFMs and doing what you need to build a solid company. But Caligula's actions as a leader included squandering Rome's treasury on lavish building projects to glorify himself. Keyword, key phrase. Anytime you're doing anything to glorify yourself, you are off the mark. He declared himself a god and engaged in bizarre behaviors that alienated and frightened the Senate and the people. His failure to consider the welfare of his subjects ultimately led to his assassination. Assassination in business is just us going out of business by members of his own guard. Okay? The people that are around you will get tired of your shit if you're a terrible business leader, and they will go somewhere else. Right? The execution, they will go work for somebody else and go in direct competition with you. Caligula's rule is a historical example of how neglecting the outcomes and well-being of one's followers can lead to not only personal downfall, but the widespread distress within a society. Right? Those are two from history. Now let me give you a couple from the business world. Okay, and I picked a couple of companies that I don't actually like, but the leaders and the leadership inside of them was amazing. Satya Nadella from Microsoft. When Satya Nadella took over as CEO of Microsoft in 2014, he shifted the company culture from one of fierce internal competition to a focus on cooperation and innovation. He obsessed over the outcome of employee engagement and satisfaction, believing that a happy workforce would bring about transformative changes, the domino effect, remember that, the domino effect, in every product and service Microsoft offered. Under his leadership, Microsoft rejuvenated its portfolio with significant improvements in cloud services and collaboration tools, leading to a substantial increase in market value. Second one, a really great leadership, Anne Mulcahy from Xerox. As CEO of Xerox, Anne Mulcahy took charge during a tumultuous time when the bankruptcy seemed inevitable. She obsessively focused on the outcomes that mattered to her employees and customers. I'm going to read that again. Okay? Xerox was on the brink of bankruptcy when she obsessed on two things: the outcomes that mattered to her employees and to her customers, probably not in that order. Choosing to visit Xerox research centers. What did she do? She visited Xerox research centers and customer sites to engage directly with them. She didn't have a piece of technology that stiff-armed her way away from the customer so that she didn't have to deal with them, so that they were going to magically show up somewhere. No, they were going bankrupt. She went and talked to them. so that she could understand two things, their concerns and their needs. Her dedication to these outcomes led to a dramatic turnaround in Xerox fortunes, saving the company and restoring its place as a leader in technology and services. Another company, again, I don't really like a lot of the things about it, but you cannot deny the success of Howard Schultz with Starbucks. His leadership at Starbucks was marked by his focus on both customer and employee satisfaction. If you watch the development of Starbucks as closely as I did, you saw little tweaks here and there, things improving just a little bit here and there, because they were listening, they fell in love with the outcome of their customer, and now it's like, you don't even say, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee anymore. He changed it so much that it's like, hey, you wanna go grab a Starbucks? He believed that the success of Starbucks depended on the well-being of his baristas and the quality of the customer experience. Starting to see a pattern here? Schultz introduced comprehensive health benefits and stock options for employees, including part-time workers, aimed to improve employee outcomes, which in turn fostered a loyal and dedicated workforce that drove global expansion and success. Okay? Again, you're going to see this pattern over and over and over again. And if you want to be part of the 5%, look, if you want to play the game and you just want to be mediocre and you just want to pay the bills and you want to die at your desk, okay, cool. Then these conversations aren't for you. But if you want to be part of the 5%, you better damn straight be learning what the 5% do and modeling what they do, and stop following the 95% that go out of business. 95% of the people that you're following, 95% of the people you're listening to, 95% of your neighboring competition, 95% of the people that you see, they are going to go out of business, y'all. Find the 5% and model what they do. That is all the growth course that I did, growthcourse.com, that's all it is. It is the system that creates 5%ers, okay? Are you a business owner that's looking to build your company into a machine that creates cash? I'm Jason Sisneros, chairman and founder of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has turned around, merged, or prepped for sale hundreds of companies just like yours. I'm best known as the architect when it comes to fixing and building companies across the globe. My experience comes from owning and exiting over 20 of my own companies successfully. It's that real-world experience that I've converted into the ultimate blueprint that has saved and grown my clients' businesses. If you're tired of getting bad advice, have bought all the books, all the coaching programs, and still aren't seeing the success that you were promised, it might be time to work with a team that has actual experience and a track record of success. Please scan the QR code or visit antonj.com to schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if we can help you reach your outcomes. That's antonj.com, ANTONJ.com. So let's go through a couple of them that didn't. Everybody remembers the name Kenneth Lay from Enron. Kenneth Lay's leadership in Enron is a notorious example of neglecting the genuine outcomes of his employees and stakeholders. Under his watch, the company became embroiled in one of the largest accounting fraud scandals in history. The focus was on deceptive practices to inflate stock prices and hide debt. The collapse of Enron led to a massive job loss and shook trust in corporate America. Okay, as it should. That is unethical capitalism 101. John Stump from Wells Fargo. As CEO of Wells Fargo, those of you that pay attention to business, you will remember this story too. John Stump oversaw a period where the company was found to have created millions of fraudulent savings and checking accounts on behalf of clients without their consent. His leadership failed to prioritize the real outcomes of customers, focusing instead on meeting unrealistic sales targets. The scandal damaged the trust of millions of customers, degraded the company's regulation, and led to billions of fines. Ron Johnson from JCPenney. Ron Johnson, former CEO of JCPenney, attempted to reinvent the retailer by abruptly changing its pricing strategy. Again, fell in love with his own idea, not the outcome for his customers or employees. Okay, he abruptly changed the pricing strategy and store experience without a clear understanding of the customer base. His failure to align these changes with the outcomes desired by JCPenney's long-time customers. He had a customer base, and he basically flipped a middle finger to him and said, hey, I don't really care about what you want. I came up with something in a boardroom. I fell in love with my own idea, right? And led to a massive drop in customer traffic and sales, ultimately causing a severe financial crisis for the company. These stories reflect the profound impact leaders can have when they either align with or ignore the outcomes important to their followers. They serve as powerful lessons in leadership and the critical importance of focusing on the true needs and goals of your constituents. Okay? So all of that to say that there are things that you have to realize, that there are things that if you want to be a part of the 5%, if you want to be a part, let me just ask the question of my live audience. I know that those of you watching this on replay don't get to play in this, but you could leave a comment on the video if you want to. How many of you want, desire, are focused on, are committed to becoming the 5% that their business lives beyond that 10-year mark, and that it helps you escape and exit at the end of you building this thing so that you can harvest your wealth? Just raise a hand, throw a thumb up, say, it's me, I want to be part of the 5%. Right? Okay, I see a bunch of them going live. Sorry, I'm live with my people on Twitter right now, and everybody's throwing up hearts and everybody's throwing up thumbs, and it looks like everybody that's here, surprise, surprise, that shows up on a Friday, right? Or sorry, on a Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, surprise, surprise, that they want to be a part of the 5%. Right? They want to get the people that are my people, the people that are part of this movement are rebels, right? We rebel against anybody controlling us, and we will work ourselves into the grave to make sure that it is our responsibility. We know it's our responsibility. We're not looking for a government to come in and save us. We're not looking for a company that I can go to work for that has the right benefits that I can eventually retire from. We're not looking for that. We are the rebellious people that look at a structure that stares us in the face and says, you have a 95% chance of failing. You're here listening to my voice, watching this on replay, sharing these videos so that you can be part of the 5%. Well, by God, you got to do the things that the 5% does. Okay? And it starts out, there's so many basic things. So many basic things. We just went through today the example of why being obsessed with the outcome of your client, improving your product so that you're not just the best, you're the only, so that you can focus on your employees' outcomes as you get them, right? I'll remind you of this every single time I open my mouth, that a business that has no employees makes about, on average, of $80,000 a year. A business per employee, businesses that have employees per employee average about $360,000 per employee. And again, it's not about just randomly, I'm going to go hire somebody and make $360,000. No, it's about understanding the system that you need to build that is underlying the thing that it is that you do. Your product and or service has to be underlined with a strong foundation of a system that operates businesses in the proper way so that you can become part of the 5%. That's what I do. I create 5%ers. What is it that you do, and have you fallen in love with the outcome of your people? Right? That's the question. So do you want to be somebody that is ignored in the marketplace? And I said lucky charm, right? Do you want to be somebody's lucky charm? That means they're kind of neutral about you. Yeah, my life got better. I saved a little bit of money. I made a little bit of money. I measurably improved the quality of my life. But I don't know if that was because of the person that I was doing business with, the product or service that I bought, or if it was just naturally because of me. Or do you want somebody that goes, I cannot live without that product or service? I cannot live because they are my secret weapon. You have no idea. I've had so many conversations about why more people don't recommend us at Anton J. And it's because I get this conversation, I get this reply all the time. Jason, I don't want my competitors using your shit. I'm crushing people in my industry. I'm crushing people. So I was like, at one point in time, I put out a video joking about the fact that I was the Hitch of business. Everybody saw the movie Hitch, right? He was an undercover guy that helped guys that were not necessarily great looking or whatever, but they went out and they got these amazing girls because of Hitch's help. But one of the rules was that you couldn't tell anybody else about it unless it was like, hey, I've got this card, I've got this guy that can help you. And that's what it feels like, and I don't care. And now I realize I embrace that because people view Anton J, they view my systems, they view the growth course, they view interaction with my team and with Anton J, they view us as a secret weapon to elevate them into the 5%. And the 5% doesn't want the other 95% to know how to compete correctly. They don't want it. Because now they're going to compete against people that know the same shit that they do, and now they've got to get better and better and better. So is your product and or service, are you the secret weapon? Or are you somebody that can be ignored? Or are you somebody's cute little lucky charm? Which one are you? Your dedication, your obsession, not with yourself or your own stuff, but the obsession with your outcome of your customers. Are you helping them make more money, save more money, or radically, measurably improve the quality of their life? What is your end game? That has to be in place. You're playing a game that 95% people fail at. If it's okay to be where you are. I want to make sure that you understand this. It's okay for you to be where you are. It's not okay. If you want to be a part of 5%ers, if you've stuck your flag in the ground and you've said, I'm on this journey and I want to go crush it and I want to get free myself so that I can go free other people, If you've said that, it's okay to be where you are, but it's not okay for you to be where you are today, tomorrow. It's not okay. You've got to try something new. You've got to implement new things. Like I said, if you can't afford the growth course or you can't afford to bring Anton J into your company, go talk to somebody who's been in business longer than you in your own business, in your own neighborhood. This is not a time for you to have an ego. Until you are free, you cannot afford an ego. But you can afford being intelligent because you're playing an intellectual game. You can afford to be able to ask the right questions. And if you get nothing else from these podcasts every single week that I'm putting out, it's to improve the quality of your questions. Do you have a system, or are you randomly repeating the same shit over and over and over again? Are you building assets in your business? If you aren't, you need to focus on the core 4. Sales and marketing is asset number 1 that you need to develop. Asset number 2 is operations, and that's how you deliver on the promise that sales and marketing is making. Your finances is the language that your business is speaking to you. You need to master and understand finance. I don't care how much you don't like it. You need to understand it, and then you can hire people that will do the work, but you've got to understand finance and what language it's speaking to you. And the 4th one is culture. Always should be number 1. I always end with it because it is critical and crucial that you have a predetermined culture in your business. And all of that is wrapped around an obsession for solving the problem for your target audience. Who cares? You could have 50 people following you on Instagram. If all 50 of those people are people that you know are people that need it or will eventually need your product and or service, speak to them. Stop following trends. Stop following the right music. Stop caring about whether the lighting is right, which camera you're using. It doesn't matter. Solve problems for your target audience. Know who your target audience is. And I want to end with this. When you're building a home, because we use a lot of analogies at Built to Exit, right, through the Chairman Project, this builttoexit.biz, which please put in your email address so that you get my show notes and so that you get become part of the community. We're getting ready to start a WhatsApp group so that we can all talk to each other throughout the course of the week. Some really great things coming as we rebrand this to the Built to Exit programs. But let me ask you a question, and think about this week. When you build a home, and I want to see some replies actually on Twitter. I want to see some replies. What is your favorite part of your house and why? Just somebody, and I'm going to ask this of the live audience as soon as I end the podcast. But I want to see some things. What is the favorite part of your house? I want to see what people put in the comments really quick. And who is ever editing my podcast, you can edit out this pause time. But I want to see, living room. I've got it coming in on a couple of different bedroom, kitchen. Okay. Yeah, these are the places that you go. Now, here's what I want everybody to think about for just a second. Because I was thinking really hard. Obviously I've got the nickname the architect in the business world because I architect for somebody's exit specifically to them. We customize it to their outcome, to their exit. And I started to think about in the building process what people's favorite parts of their home are. And again, it's where you spend time with loved ones. It's where you rest, right? It's your bedroom. It's your kitchen, and all of the things that I'm seeing that are coming in as replies. Those are the places where you've got comfortable because it's already been built. And then I asked the question to myself. I said, what's the most important part of your home? What's the most important part? And it comes back again, kitchen. It comes back, this, that, the other. It's the plumbing. This is how I'm going to wrap up this podcast. It's the plumbing, because if you don't have the plumbing in place, and that is all a correct system about how to become a 5%er, that's all it is. It's the plumbing. Okay? It's the plumbing. It gets the shit out. Right? It keeps the places that you love to be, it keeps it clean, it keeps it not smelling, it keeps it the house, it keeps it moving on out of the house. If you don't have plumbing in your house, it's going to smell like shit. And most businesses don't have plumbing. The plumbing of your business is process. The plumbing in your business is procedure. The plumbing in your business is proper onboarding. The plumbing in your business is measurement. Is knowing your finances. It's having a systematic way that you're getting a predictable amount of leads that goes into a closing process that is predictable, that then goes into the delivery on the operations that produces a predictable product and or service, that then gives you finances that are spinning out, telling you to do less of this and more of that, into a culture that is set whether you're present or not. You've got to work on your plumbing. This is a very direct message this week, okay? A lot of times I can come in here and fire you up and get you pumped up and do all that kind of stuff, and we get jazzed and we get excited and all that kind of stuff. To me, this week it's a little bit more direct. You have to be working on your plumbing. It's not sexy. Nobody sees it. It just magically seems to handle all the problems in your house. You've got to work on your plumbing. If you are genuinely interested in building and being part of the 5%, a company that lives beyond you or that is built to be able to sell or for you to be able to exit and keep that cash flow coming in, you got to work on your plumbing. And the only way that you can do that is if you know the systems. If you don't have a plumbing system in your house, it will smell like shit. If you don't have a business system in your business, it will smell like shit. You're running a company month to month. You're running a company month to month. You don't have any extension. You don't have 3 months. You don't have 6 months. You're running it as soon as the first hits, you got to go sell the same amount of stuff. It's predictable. So what I'd like everybody to do this week, get back here. Here's your takeaways, okay? And then we're going to wrap this up. 5 takeaways. Identify your end game. Sound familiar? Clearly identify what you want your business to achieve. That clarity will help prioritize everything that comes after it. It's the first domino. Then number 2, obsess over your client outcomes. Develop a deep understanding of what success means to your customers, then obsess over delivering those outcomes to create an indispensable value proposition. Number 3, maximize your time investment. Evaluate every activity for its return on investment towards your end game. Cut out inefficiencies and focus on what truly moves the needle. Number 4, envision your exit. Design your business operation growth strategy with an eventual exit in mind. This approach not only prepares your business for a future sale, but also ensures it operates at peak efficiency while you own it. Last one, and number five and last one is simplify your focus. Reduce the complexities that you have in your life by concentrating on the core aspects that your business excels at. Saving money, making money, or improving lives. This focus will not only refine your operations, but will also ignite your business growth. Okay? That's it. The 5 takeaways. Identify your end game, obsess over client outcomes, maximize your time investment, envision the exit, and simplify your focus. That's the lesson for this week. And then at the end of it, right, as I said when I started this podcast, had a couple of really cool interactions with our clients where I got to sit there and watch because they had worked for an entire year, where some of them were in the trough of disappointment for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, almost a year on one of them. And to get to the end and then have one of them call me and say, hey, I'm in Barcelona and my business is doing business without me. I haven't had to solve any problems. The money is coming in. Our sales are ramping up at about 3 to 5% per month. And I wasn't there for the entire month. And I had yet another customer that goes, hey, by the way, I'm down here on vacation with my family. Haven't been in my business for 8 days. And I get to say, I told you so. I get to, and not in a pissy way, but I get to say, I told you so. Because the people that listen to what I say, that do and build the plumbing in their business, the stuff that's not sexy, that isn't the 14 and a half steps to being massively rich and blah, blah, blah. You're going to go from $100,000 to $100 million, blah, blah, blah. All that bullshit we know is bullshit. We don't care about what anybody else is doing. We don't care about, these massive numbers. What we care about first and foremost is our exit. That's it. And that number could be 100 million for you. It doesn't matter. There's a couple of companies that are coming on board that my NDAs are just about up that I could start talking about, that are massive, well-known companies that we've been working on. Companies that you will know the names of, that did exactly what we talk about here. And then I've got companies you have never heard of, that you're about to hear of, because they built the plumbing. They put in the sweat equity. They built a system for their business that helped them reach that 5%. That's all I want for you. That's all we're going to talk about every single week. This is what we're doing here. This is what I'm about to go step from this podcast stage onto a real life stage and go deal with 100, 150 business owners that are thirsty and desirous, whether they know it or not, to understand how can I get a system? How can I have people stop giving me bullshit and start giving me real tools so that myself and my family and my employees and my customers can all get the thing that we need? You're part of a very small group of people that are willing to do what it takes, willing to put in the work, and you understand that you're playing an intellectual game. So you're going to be smart. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. That was from Cancun, Mexico, this episode of the Chairman Project podcast with Jason Sisneros, talking about whether you're being ignored or you're just some cute little lucky charm, or whether you are somebody's secret weapon in what it is that you do. My prayer for you is that you are a secret weapon, and if you're not, that you continue to hone your craft to where you become not just the best, but the only. And then you get to pick and choose. You don't have to be desperate for outcomes. You don't have to be desperate for sales, because people will be lined up to utilize whatever it is that you have. I love you all. I'm Jason Sisneros. We're going to switch over into the live Q&A on Twitter. Please join us there. It's a great group of people. You'll love them. You all can do business with each other, and that's what we're here. This is the whole outcome, is for us to start doing business with each other so we can retain the independent access to capital through small and medium-sized companies. The 33 million of us that produce 60% of a GDP of $25 trillion. 60% of $25 trillion is done by us. It's done by you. It's done by me. It's done by us as the greatest organism of free thinkers in a free country, for us to be able to just improve our systems to be able to become even more free. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next week. Peace.